Hi everyone, my name is Jenny Wilkie, and as I am an author, I write poetry books, and I'm from Savannah, Georgia originally. I lived there for 9 years. I've lived in Richmond Hill, Georgia with my mom and my sister Grace and my dad, who's an English teacher at the high school. He also does the yearbook, and when I was in 9th grade and 10th grade, before I went to try to check for the GED program, I was in creative writing class, and that's when I first started writing. And I started writing poetry to express my hurt and feelings and all my mania and depression that I had due to my bipolar disorder. If you read my book, The Darkside of January, in the beginning of the book, at the acknowledgments, it is dedicated to all those who have depression and bipolar disorder. If you don't know what bipolar disorder is, look it up. It's really kind of technical, but it's basically whenever you have depression for a short amount of time and then you go really, really hyper and manic, and that's not with all types of bipolar disorder, but that's the kind I have. In my next book, The Brisk of September, has a very lively look upon it. It does have some dark spots, but it's mostly it's very lively. It's very, very lively. My favorite poem in there is called The Storm, and it's a very spiritual book as well. I am a Christian. I do go to church sometimes. Even though I don't judge, if you're not a Christian, you don't have to be a Christian to read my book. But it's very spiritual. It's very enlightening. It does mention that there's a higher power in it, so don't be offended if you do get offended by that stuff. And The Storm is my favorite poem in there. There's going to be 10 poems in the book. There's 9 in my other book, The Darkside of January. So The Brisk of September has poems dating back from September 2014, and that's the oldest poem in there. The Darkside of January has poems from 2012 of December and early January of that book, and I got that one out as quickly as I possibly could because I had so many poems written down that I wanted to share. This one has taken me a while, this upcoming book has, because I went through a spot where I didn't have any inspiration, or I didn't really know if they were any good. And I tweaked a lot of the poems, especially The Storm and In the Land of His Light. Those are 2 of the new poems that I have. My favorite poem in The Darkside of January is the opening poem, Evermore. It's like, I'm still in awe of it. It's awesome. Evermore. Once upon a blood-red moon, upon the orange and dusty dune, there sat a girl in a wine red dress, crying tears of pain. My heart is broken, torn in two. My lover hath bid me adieu. I shall not love, no nevermore. Thus begins the story of Evermore. Evermore was a lonely child. She grew up cursed, unloved, and wild. But she had a heart as pure as snow. Her love lasted ever after. But alas, the world was blind, and let Evermore slip behind. She'd often sit and cry at night, telling herself it would be all right, saying that she'd find love one day, though she knew it was all a lie. One night, in the midst of the pain and the strife, she finally found the love of her life. She found love on the blade of a knife, slicing through her beautiful arm. She watched the blood flow crimson red. She watched it drop and stain her bed. She watched the blade glow glistening silver as it slowly cut her arm. The scars, they were hard to hide, evidence of the pain inside. So she brought a claret dress to conceal the blood that was dripping out. The cruel world found even more reasons to hate this little whore. The poor, lonely, loving girl who only needed a chance. One night she sat and softly sang, just as the midnight bells rang, Evermore's lullaby. I only want love, please listen to me. If you would only listen, stop and see. I only need love, this is my plea. If only you love me, I will love thee. Meanwhile, a stranger rode into the place of Evermore's abode. Evermore sat quiet in dismay, for the entire world seemed to say, love won't get you anywhere. Love was all she knew, though they didn't care. Sweet Evermore looked past her wine-red dress, and with a tender, loving caress, she stroked her beautiful, scarred and bloody arms. The pain she felt from the cut she made, the sweet slicing of that pretty blade, it made everything better, she bade. She was lying to herself. I cannot love them anymore, screamed the beautiful voice of Evermore. God hated to see her little heart sore, so pity was taken on her. Evermore again rose into song, as a stranger in town heard the glorious throng. He was shattered to see her cry, listening to Evermore's lullaby. He did not know how to approach her, this pretty girl who was broken and torn. He told her he loved to hear her glorious song. My song, exclaimed Evermore. She did not think he would adore her pretty lullaby. I think you are a pretty girl. Your hair in the wind is gorgeously awhirl. Your eyes are like diamonds, shining so bright. I want to escort you along tonight. Evermore blushed with the fiercest of red, though her heart was filled with dread that he would find the scars. He did not, and the night went on, perfect as could be. And when the midnight bells rang, toward Evermore leaned he. I truly love thee. And a kiss, it happened there, the first Evermore had ever had. The sparks flew all over the sky. Evermore started to cry, for she had found love at last. Evermore had found her one true love, the one who glittered like the stars above. It made her heart leap with joy to see she was finally loved. This man took away all her pain, and she realized the cutting had been in vain. She didn't need him anymore, so she threw the blade away. The love went well for quite some time, till secrets were revealed, those horrible crimes. Her lover was a robber, running from the law. He had killed a man in fear, who was from Utah. One night he lifted her dress and exclaimed with a gasp as he peered at her broken scars. Are you seeking out your very death? The robber muttered under his breath. No, she exclaimed with a beautiful cry. But inside, she really wondered. Then one day he didn't return, and Evermore's heart was filled with concern. Had they finally found her love at last? She began to cry. Evermore sat and started to sing, releasing the pain and the grieving, but her ears were deaf to hear the well of pain in the distance. It was not until the dawn she learned that her lover's pain had finally turned. He was found in her courtyard with blood all over his wrist. As she turned him in the sand, she saw a note with a trembling hand and began to read the words. The stress is too much for me, and Evermore has set me free. This is how I wanted to die, listening to Evermore's lullaby. Evermore began to sob. Evermore cried softly as night began to fall, for the girl who thought she was loved was not loved at all. She tasted blood upon her tongue, her sanity was now unstrung. The world mocked her even more, and she began to scream. Her love now lay in a pool of blood. She couldn't help but cry, for her sweet love had killed himself, listening to her sweet lullaby. The sun now set a deep red hue. There was no one now to rescue her as she picked up the blade again. She watched the blood flow, and she knew she needed to end it all. Now there was a blood-red moon. She sat upon the quiet dune, weeping into her white, wine-red dress, crying tears of pain. My heart is broken, torn in two. My lover hath bid me adieu. I cannot love, no nevermore. Scream torn, broken, evermore. She sliced her arms where the blood would flow. How hard she cried, God only knows. The blood stained upon the ground and turned her whole world red. Evermore ceased her lullaby, for she was now a crimson butterfly, flying away into the sky, escaping all the pain. Love is a lie, you poor little souls, your broken hearts are little hellholes. You tried to save me, you were too late, I have already been met by my fate. I have already died inside, the taste of love and suicide, to haunt my thoughts forevermore. Thus ends the story of Evermore. And that's the story. It's really sad, but it has a story behind it. And the story is that if you were ever at the deepest spot and you think you don't have any love, love yourself, because it's all the love you might ever have. And if you don't love yourself before you love anybody else, you never know what true love is. I feel like it's important to release the stigma, and that's part of why I write how I feel, and not about butterflies and pretty things. I'm feeling sad, so that's the Darkside of January is a big part of me, but my writing style has definitely changed since then, and I'm very proud of that, but yet it's not gone completely. So no matter what goes through your life, if you decide to express yourself through writing or however you express yourself, it's going to change. Your style is going to change as you grow up. And I've grown up a lot since 2012, so you'll see that in my book. Oh, where we are right now, we are actually in Jasper right now. The heart of Jasper, the little park beside the old jail. That's where we're at right now. And I love Jasper, but sometimes I don't like it at all. It's just, I miss Savannah and I miss Richmond Hill a lot, and I hope to move back there someday. Some things more about myself. I am currently engaged to Darren Lunderman. He's from South Dakota. He's Native American. And I am expecting my first child in July of 2016, and it will be a boy, and his name will be Theodore. I have 3 younger sisters, and they all go to school around here, so if you know them, say hi. Their names are Ella, Rachel, and Grace. I'm a big advocate for mental illnesses and everything else. I feel like there should be more groups for it. I do have mental illness myself, so I want people to know, hey, it's out there, but it's not a bad thing to get help, and it's good to express yourself through it. It helps a lot. It helps your mental state, it helps your creativity state, helps your motor skills, however you just want to express yourself through your illness. If you have one, do it. I highly encourage it. It helps. Not many people will listen, but they will look. That's what I've learned. They might not listen, but they will look, they will read, they will see how you struggle if you experience and your experiences through your work. I love the cover for the Brisk of September. It's very bright and colorful and kind of fallish. And the Darkside of January is kind of bland, but it's beautiful still. The fact that I chose those names is mostly because it's the year, time period they were written in, and it kind of just speaks for the whole book. The Brisk of September is more of a change in pace, and the Darkside of January is dark and depressing and bittersweet. Some of the titles of the poems in the Brisk of September are In the Land of His Light, We Walk, A State of Grace in the Woods, and my favorite is In the Flame. It was originally titled The Beasts and the Angels in the Flame, and that's the last poem in the book, so that's my second favorite actually. But I love The Storm, and that is my first favorite. And that's going to be in the middle of the book, and we start out with a poem I wrote about how your friends are kind of like trees, and that one is called Never Just a Tree. And I have two good friends. Their names are Amber Green and Mila Wentworth, and they're really nice and awesome. They're like my best friends, and I want to say hi to them in this video. Hi Mila, hi Amber. They've stayed my friends since 7th, 6th grade, and we've managed to keep in touch since then, so they're really inspirational to me as well. And in the beginning of the Brisk of September, I have a dedication to Darren, to my mom and dad. I'm going to add one to them, and then I'm going to add one to, I have one dedicated to the Lord Jesus Christ, so yeah. I'm really looking forward to hearing feedback from all those who read it, so put it on Amazon.com if you've read it.